Welcome to Tech Talk Nation, talking about the latest tech, industry news, and hot topics. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Visit our website at techtalknation.com.
Good evening and welcome to Tech Talk Nation. I'm your host, Matt Fitzgerald, and tonight we have a great show for you coming up. It is episode 24 of Tech Talk Nation, and we have a lot of cool news coming your way right after this. We got some news from Apple, we got some news from the chip shortage and some implications from that. We have a lot of news on the video communications industry and a lot of stuff that's been changing there. Some cool new devices rolling out, a bunch of news on cool EVs, and our obligatory NFT articles. But we also have a cool article coming for you at the end of the show today, so stick around and wait for us to get to that one. It is an oldie but a goodie, and the title of this episode is going to allude a lot to that. So without further ado, we have two of our regular contributors on the show today. We have Gryzlo and Ryan Eastman here with us today. We are super happy to have you as usual, and hoping to have a great episode today, guys. How are you?
Ryan,
I was
how you
gonna let
doing,
you
man?
go first. I'm
Oh,
doing
shoot.
well, I'm feeling
Like-
good, ready to talk about things in a family-friendly manner.
There's nothing but love between me and Ryan. We go way back.
I'm definitely not gonna
I'm
cuss
also
this
not.
time.
I'm not vertical today, which is good. We somehow fixed that.
Yeah, definitely. And I am glad we fixed some other stuff too. This is try number 3 here today, trying to get this episode running. For some reason, my software on my end just decided to disconnect my microphone completely. So we were just kind of like talking to ourselves, and I couldn't hear anything. So it was one of those things where it's like we had to restart it, and then it happened again. So we are here now. Everything is working. And we are looking forward to getting right into the news today. So, the first article we have for you today is about Apple's AirTags, how they were hacked, quote, again. And Gryzlo, you sent this one in. You want to kind of explain it a little bit?
Yeah. So the AirTags came out fairly recently, and so people are getting their hands on these devices and trying to hack into them, see what they can do, what they can improve. People have tried drilling into them to add key rings or whatever. But there's this person who's found a way to send data over over the AirTag. It's a highly technical article here. Fitz, Ryan, you guys probably know more about this than me, at least from the coding and the back end standpoint. Do you guys want to kind of go over that aspect of it?
Sure. Basically, long story short, I was reading this article a little bit, and basically they were going into kind of how the architecture for the AirTag and Find My infrastructure works. So when you're encrypting something, you send two things. You send a public key and usually an identifier of that device. So like your public key is generally what the server on the other side will know that it's you, and then they decrypt a private key and then establish a connection. Basically, what this article was doing is intercepting those private keys and working with them. So not a huge security risk from what I can see, but definitely interesting to see nonetheless. It gives us a glimpse into how Apple's architecture works.
Ryan?
Oh, sorry. I'm enjoying reading through all the hexadecimal numbers. Yeah. It's pretty interesting what the guy managed to pull off. He's spoofing basically public keys to Apple and then getting it to respond to that, to like the usual Find My stuff with it, which is really impressive. I can't imagine how long he had to sit there and just like read through binary going past him in order to figure out what was going on with all this.
Right, because there's the way you kind of establish this information is what's called a man-in-the-middle attack, where basically here's the server you're trying to connect to, and then in the middle there's something that your thing thinks is the server. So it thinks it's connecting to the server. It's really connecting to you or your nefarious laptop or something, and basically tracking everything that's going through that laptop. So like pulling the traffic and decrypting it and showing you what's kind of going on. So I'm sure that's what they did here. They established some sort of man in the middle. They were able to see all of the traffic between the two servers, or the device and Apple servers, and then kind of reverse engineer it in a way. And it's really cool to see.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's terrible in terms of efficiency. It clocks in at about 20 bits per second. A normal internet speed to get is about, give or take, 15 or 20 million bits a second. Just about. So, yeah, it doesn't work well, but it's really cool what he did manage to pull off with it, though.
Right, definitely. And one of the other cool things too is that article was very technical, uh, but they also
Oh yeah.
linked to this article on positive security, um, basically going into much more detail from the technical point of view and how they actually did it and all that stuff. So if you're very technical on this stuff, I really recommend giving this a read. It's super interesting, a lot of stuff like that, and um, very cool to kind of see what's going on. So yeah, that's awesome that they were able to get that done.
Yeah, if you're into this kind of stuff, highly recommend reading the article, and then the attached in the links in the article that attached basically white paper. As you can tell, I'm not really an expert on this subject matter, so I'm really glad I've got two co-hosts that are pros on this. And in the pre-show, they were raving and ranting about who knew what and who took what class to know all this information. And I was just sitting here thinking, I did not take any of those classes. I didn't need to.
It's a slippery slope. Yeah, it's
That's okay. I don't know how batteries work.
It's fair. It's fair.
That is fair. But do you know how speakers work? In our next article here, we got a veteran Apple designer, Christopher Stringer here. He unveiled an $1,800 speaker. It's supposedly the world's first triphonic speaker. And long story short, cool looking speaker, if you think so. Kind of, it's interesting, and um, well, we'll see. It's definitely unique in its design here.
It's quite a crazy expensive speaker. I thought my $300 or whatever $200 Bluetooth speaker was expensive. Try $1,800.
Yeah.
It's
You can
also
tell he
got
used to work at Apple.
but that's not the best part
For that
because
price tag?
Took me a second, but I got that.
so it costs $1,800. But the stand costs, what is it, 270?
Let's see. I remember reading that
Like
somewhere.
170, I think.
170. So I was off by 100. But
Yeah.
still,
It's about
very
1800. It's like
technique.
1969.
Here's the device, and then if you want the stand, you got to pony up a bit more. You see what they did with the Pro XDR display. Apple did. But yeah, this is a really cool speaker. They've got a lot of cool technology and just kind of design language to it. People that designed this came from Apple, Facebook. I can't remember what other companies. Nest, Ring, Nike, Facebook. So they were all engineers and designers on this project. And if you put three in a room, it's supposed to be far better than surround sound audio. So I guess if people end up buying this, if anyone does, and makes a video, we'll see how it works. It's got AirPlay 2 as well as Spotify Connect over Wi-Fi, and some other USB-C ports and connectivities for peripherals and stuff. So yeah, really expensive, really kind of boutique speaker. It's a cool centerpiece and a talking point, but I don't see myself ever spending that kind of money on a speaker. I don't know about you guys.
I mean,
Never.
no. If I were running a music production company, like that would be a different story. Like I'd want arguably the best of the best, and
This isn't even
like
targeted at that.
right, exactly, and that's what kind of makes me interested, at least in a little bit of like why, because in pro audio you can go from like bottom of the barrel to like the best you could possibly get, and you could be dropping a good
Well,
like 10 grand for a pair of studio monitors, but like this isn't targeted toward that, and it's hard to tell who it's targeted towards. Just trendy people who want an expensive talking piece, I guess.
people who live in San Francisco. Only
Yes.
I don't
them.
know. There's a
I mean,
market.
the
There's
thing,
obviously a market for it. Someone wanted it, so
Who
yeah.
knows?
I mean, the thing with like if you work in a audio studio, speakers and headphones tend to clock in a lot cheaper than like quality microphones anyway.
Right.
So
Right.
like for $1,700, you can still get like, I don't know, there's plenty of studio monitors that are 700 a piece for each one.
oh yeah.
And I get that this is surround sound and all that. It's supposedly, it maps a room with microphones and all that, like a lot of stuff does this day, but I don't really know if that's $1,700 worth.
1,800. 1,799.
18, sorry, yeah.
There you
19,
go.
almost 2K if you want the stand, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well,
I'm sure someone wants it just to have it though, because people,
people are people.
I
yeah,
mean,
they'll
it's a
spend money
cool
to spend
looking.
money.
It's a cool looking like industrial piece, I'd say.
Yeah.
It fits a room, a certain type of room. It wouldn't fit my room. It also wouldn't fit my budget.
I mean, you can, yeah. Well, yeah. I'm trying to defend it. I'm like, I have no clue what I'd even say, but
I'm trying to figure out how to make a speaker that'll map rooms using audio now.
let's talk. But anyway, one thing you can do with that speaker is listen to some cool music on Apple Music here. They announced spatial audio with Dolby Atmos, bring lossless audio to their entire catalog. And for all those audiophiles out there, that is wonderful news for people. So definitely will be
Well,
interested.
it's wonderful news if you have a Apple Music account. Not so much if you've got Spotify.
True.
And that's a sticking point, right? So now Apple's competitor is doesn't stack up to what they're providing, and so if Spotify responds to this, it'll be interesting to see how they do. And actually, a really big point to this this rollout of their lossless high fidelity audio is that it's going to be in June, and at no additional cost. You don't have to have an added subscription. You don't have to pay an additional fee. You get hi-fi audio for no additional cost. And so that, I think, is a really, really competitive kind of advantage now that Apple Music has to Spotify. Now, I prefer Spotify. I like the UI. I like, the sort of culture around playlists there. I haven't really given Apple Music a chance, but just because I like what I've got. I wouldn't want to switch. But I'm curious if anyone that's in the Spotify community right now would consider switching over to Apple Music with this new free feature, basically.
I have a very different view on this feature. I think it's largely pointless.
Go on.
I would bet dollars to donuts 90 to 95% of people now anyway, especially because no one has headphone jacks anymore. Like there's
yeah.
2 phones out that still have headphone jacks, like the Xperia something. And I think one of Asus's new phones have headphone jacks, and that's about it. So you're not getting lossless audio. because it has to get compressed to get sent over Bluetooth.
Hmm.
So for
Right.
almost everyone, kind of useless. And then for people who still use wired headphones one way or the other, I don't know if you're going to have headphones that have the frequency response to actually benefit from lossless audio.
Right.
Mm.
E-
Yeah.
Very good point there too,
Yeah.
especially if you're
Yeah.
using wired headphones and you have like a little dongle or whatever on a phone. That's got a yeah, it's a funny word. Uh,
Yeah.
uh, but you got a digital audio converter in there, and that's converting whatever's coming from it into audio. So you could go for the $2 one that you could just get at the store, and it'll do the same job. But the the real expensive ones may actually have that feature, but you're going to have that upfront cost to actually be able to
Yeah.
listen to the music in that lossless high quality.
Yeah. And mobile ones are generally cheap anyway, so any decent pair of headphones is not going to be driven properly by them because you won't be able to match the impedance of the headphones, which is how you get ideal audio.
Yeah.
That being
Well,
said, there is probably like, I don't know what percentage of Apple Music users are like people who are really into like the headphone and like audio space or like producers and all that. But everyone who has like their own like digital to audio converters and like interfaces and all that will benefit from that a ton.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
yeah,
You'll really get to hear a lot of things.
Oh yeah.
definitely.
For anyone who does have all that, I recommend listening to Rosanna and Bohemian Rhapsody to hear a bunch of highs and lows you didn't know you could hear.
I'm gonna have to try that.
I kind of wanted to.
Yeah, but yeah, definitely
Those are
cool.
two phenomenal songs.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah, they both have really well. What they're really good for is because they both have such like a huge range in highs and lows, so you can hear a lot of different parts.
Galileo,
Bohemian
Galileo.
Rhapsody, especially. I mean, they're
Yeah,
all over the map there.
Yeah,
The audio map.
exactly.
definitely. Well, another thing that we wanted to talk about real quick here is Chipolo's One Spot Tracker, available with a Find My integration, undercutting AirTags. This was one thing that we were just kind of taking a look at a little earlier. Gryzlo, you sent in this article, and you have any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, actually, I think you're laughing. I understand, but and it's a funny name. I think Chipolo too, right?
Oh
I've
yeah,
never
I'm
heard of the
laughing
company.
because I misread it and I thought it said Chipotle.
I did
No,
too,
so
100% when I saw that the first time.
like I said at the beginning of the show, Apple debuted their new smart tags or smart trackers last month, and now are selling them for $29 a piece. And Chipolo is selling their smart tracker for $28 a piece. So they're also they're undercutting Apple's bottom dollar by $1. Not only that, but it integrates into the Find My network, and it's one of the, I think they said, the only ones that does. And so now the only feature that the Chipolo tracker doesn't have over the AirTag is that compass feature where you can ping the tag, and then with your iPhone, it'll basically show you a compass and then a sort of like distance gauge. So if you get closer to your AirTag, the distance then goes down, and then the compass shows you where you're going to try and track the tag. Well, that feature is phenomenal. But the problem is, it only works if you have an iPhone 11 or newer. iPhone 11, iPhone 11 Pro, and then any of the iPhone 12s. Which means that this feature, which is really, really nice, and something that I would like to take advantage of, I can't take advantage of it because my phone is too old. My phone's so old, it has the button. And so this is actually, it seems like a very kind of like, forget about it type of thing where it's like, oh, another product, whatever. Well, if you have a phone that's older than an iPhone 11 and you've been thinking about getting an AirTag, this might be an alternative for you, not only because you can use it with the Find My network, but also, something I didn't mention, it has a keyring hole. So you can put it on your keyring, you can put it on any sort of little circular metal, whatever you attach your keys, bags, luggage, anything.
Your heart out, Tim Cook.
Yeah, so this stupid little tag that you thought was named Chipotle, is actually something that is going to be competitive with Apple. And not only that, with the one chip or the one tag that's $28 opposed to Apple's $29. They're selling a 4-pack for I believe $90. Yeah, $90 and free shipping. So they're going after Apple hard here, and Apple let them in their gates with Find My Network too.
Yeah, I thought it was $40. Apparently, I'm wrong.
And actually, another important thing to remember here: yes, the AirTag is $29, but the AirTag does not have anything to attach itself to anything else. It doesn't have a key hole or anything.
Yep.
So you have to buy another $30 or $25 accessory. So after it's all said and done,
Just like that speaker with its stand,
like over $50, for $40 to $50 for one AirTag. And this company is asking for $28, and you're going to get every feature that is on the AirTag minus the compass feature. But then again, if you don't have a phone that can take advantage of those capabilities because of I believe it's the U1 chip in the iPhones, then you could go with this cheaper alternative and be just as happy.
We'll see. We'll see. I mean, definitely something that we're going to have to keep an eye on as they roll out. I mean, I'd love to see more competition in the space. I love the fact of like tracking and stuff like that. I like asset tracking. I think that is so cool, and that's where my research actually is. Well, actually, Gryzlo, your and my research is. So yeah, basically all that stuff. It's going to be definitely interesting to see.
Yeah, I was hoping with the departure of Johnny Ives, Apple might start make products a little more user friendly from a hardware standpoint, but no keychain hole. Nope.
Well, they don't.
I think in a future iteration they could add it, and it wouldn't be hard, especially because people have proven if you
No,
drill into a
they've
certain
drilled
portion of
holes
it,
themselves.
if you drill into a certain portion of it, which I don't know where it is, but you can you could basically put on a keyring.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. Well, let's hope that they can keep up the production for them, because the next story we have is about the chip shortage. And basically, in case everybody doesn't know, there is a computer chip shortage right now due to the pandemic and COVID-19 and all of that fun stuff. Long story short, a lot of the chip manufacturers decided that they wanted to make the more expensive computer chips rather than the ones that are the bread and butter that are like 50 cents or 70 cents or something like that. And that's having a trickle down effect now to the consumers and all the prices for things. Like high end TVs are 30% higher than they were last summer. And this article actually goes into pretty good detail from Wired. Thank you to them for writing this. But basically, they said like voltage regulators using countless products that normally cost 50 cents have been selling for as much as $70. That is a stretch. I don't think that is fully true, but you get the point. The components that make these bigger products are getting more expensive, and we're starting to see that trickle down to the end consumer of these manufactured goods. So it stinks.
I'm glad I bought a TV in January. Yeah, I mean, it's. I haven't really done a ton of research into it, and all I've been hearing is chip shortage, chip shortage, chip shortage. Seeing something like that where it's a very tangible number that I can, see in my head or at least understand in my head, 30% increase in cost. That's a big chunk of change. And at least from what the article has said, it's not going to go away, this chip shortage, anytime soon. And it could be as much as, a year to 2 years before we really kind of see this thing settle down and sort of normalize in terms of chip production. But yeah, it impacts anything with a screen, basically, which is most electronics or consumer electronics that people use.
Oh, and a ton more.
Yeah.
And a lot more.
Yeah.
So I hope that, with the phones coming out, at least the iPhones in September, and I mean, not just Apple, consumer electronics all the time coming out. People are talking about raising their prices. There was a company that said that they may have to raise prices or at least stop with their sales because it's starting to take a hit to their bottom line, and that's understandable. Let's hope that it doesn't last as long as they predict that it'll last in this article.
Yeah, I mean it'll be a good while. The crazy thing to me is we're still suffering from shortages on a lot of those expensive chips too,
Hmm.
despite a lot of production going towards those rather than some of the more like basic component chips. But regardless of that, I don't know how much of it. I don't know. There's costs rising because of inflation and a bunch of other stuff too right now. Economics is tricky, but uh, yeah, there's might be a rough year for electronics.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the article says the retailer Monoprice that they're getting affected by this drought in chips, and that they would have to cancel sales and other promotions. And then they said in some cases they're also seeing the need to invest more in upfront payments to partners to ensure that these long lead times are secured to get their supply requirements in order.
Right. So basically guaranteeing that they get X product by just paying up front for it. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, that's nuts. It's definitely one of those supply and demand things. Once again, economics is tricky, but I think that's going to be a big trend in the industry moving forward. Basically, securing these parts beforehand instead of just going to a manufacturer or distributor and just being like, "Hey, I need 30,000 of these," uh, and they'd just be like, "Well, we don't have them." Like, and
Yeah.
like planning that, not necessarily that just in time delivery, but more so planning out ahead much longer than previously has been done. So
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, we'll see. There's a lot of things leading into this and all that affecting everything. As things kind of open back and people go back to work, demand for like Xboxes, PS5s, and all that stuff that have GPUs built in them will probably go back down. There's a bunch of other stuff. It's crazy.
I would challenge you only on the PS5s just because of how scarce they've been from the get-go. It's been so hard for people to
Yeah.
get them. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't lump that in the category of decreased demand. I think it's probably gonna. It's probably honestly, I would say it's flatlining for about a year.
I
Just
don't.
because
Yeah,
demand has
maybe.
been demand
Well,
has been
yeah.
so high and the supply has
There's an
been so little.
undercurrent. Yeah, there's a minimum line they have to get to first, obviously. But like where the line is, I think might move down just as people have less and less time for because they're not at home all the time. Now they'll be back, hopefully out doing things and working and all that stuff. But then the other part to look at too, though, is crypto is not going anywhere. And crypto kind of relies on GPUs because they do the best job doing the kinds of math you need to make crypto work.
Right.
right, right. Well, we'll see because apparently TSMC is looking to double down on chip factories in the U.S. as talks in Europe kind of die out here. Long story short, TSMC, one of the largest semiconductor manufacturing companies, announced that they are going to make a plant in Arizona that basically will make chips, which is great to see that investment in the U.S. It
Hmm.
could they're basically toying with the idea between 3 nanometer and 5 nanometer technology, and that's two very different architectures that you can build chips in. So um, we'll see. What's your guys' thoughts on this one?
I mean, I think it's just super important, especially with this chip shortage right now. One thing I guess that we didn't mention in the last sort of discussion on chips was embargoes and sort of restrictions on China. The U.S. has imposed, which also makes it more difficult. And so having something on our side of the water here helps. It would only be, I believe it's 20,000 wafer kind of projected output for this small Arizona factory versus what you would see overseas with 100,000 wafers per month. So it's a little bit of a smaller output, but it's a start. And you can't start something like that big. It's better to grow and scale up as time goes than try and maintain that really high output right at the start.
Yeah. I love it. It's back in my home state of Arizona, which I wouldn't mind having a bunch of technology places end up popping up in Arizona. But I mean, I don't know if it would really change prices that much based on tariffs and embargoes and all that. TSMC is a Taiwanese company, so I can't imagine they're doing any business in China because of the whole China doesn't acknowledge that Taiwan exists fiasco, all that. I'll try not to get too much into geopolitics, but
It factors in.
yeah,
Right.
it does factor in. I don't think TSMC works in China. I have to imagine they can't because, I mean, China doesn't acknowledge that their country exists. So regardless of that, though, it probably would decrease prices just for it costs less to move chips because now you're not moving it over the ocean. Now you're just moving it over the land.
Well,
Right.
not only that, but Intel and other companies have also Samsung are planning other plants in Arizona as well as in Texas.
Yeah.
So you're seeing all these people kind of move stateside or start building local factories stateside. I think it's going to be good for the economy, obviously, more jobs,
Yeah.
and good quality jobs. So
Yeah.
I'm all for it.
Yeah, I like it. Intel makes their own chips, so they have their own factories. TMSC, I think, is responsible for NVIDIA. They make AMD chips. I think they make Apple's processor too, if I'm not mistaken.
That
For the iPhones, I believe.
I think so. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah. Hey, it's cool to see expansion in this, and definitely um, will help with the chip shortage if you can make more. Now you just got to make sure you get the raw materials to make the chips able to get there. So we'll see. Um, in other news, speaking of China, China was able to land the Zhurong rover on Mars. It joins the U.S. as the only nations to successfully land on the planet. Um, and basically, I wanted to kind of go over this in a little bit of a different detail because I just found their rocket design and how they landed this just really interesting. Because basically, I'm not sure if this has a video here. Um, I think this was it. Um, but basically, long story short, instead of what the US does, where they basically drop the rover directly on Mars, they land this entire assembly
Platform.
here. Yeah, this entire like of course I don't need ads, but that entire assembly um on Mars. And the the thing this thing um the thing that I just found interesting is they're taking a much different approach than the US did because basically, like I said, when the US did, they just kind of dropped the rover on the planet on its wheels and then just basically had the ropes that were, well, not ropes, but the connection points to the rover disconnect, and then the rocket just basically backfire as hard as it could the other direction and crash wherever it crashed. So I just find that interesting. That looks like they're kind of using this like a little base station or something. So super cool to see. And at least for me, no matter where you stand on like political issues or whatever, I I just think in the science space, it's cool to see other other countries doing stuff like this and just advancing science.
We're not alone
Yeah.
anymore up in Mars.
I mean, it's good just in the sense of, kind of like that spirit of competition. It'll push US based places to do better. It just kind of pushes innovation, which is always
Definitely.
cool.
Yeah. Also, to your point about how we land rockets on Mars or rovers on Mars, they did have a big parachute. They don't just send it at thousands of miles an hour straight into the surface of Mars. It's
Just
a
drop
little
it from
more
space. It'll be
engineered than
fine.
that.
I mean, I may have left out a couple minor details there, but
You know,
but yes,
gravity's
they
a
do.
little less on Mars. It'll be fine.
But yes, they do have a very or slightly different approach to the land than the United States has had. So yeah, it's just an interesting thing to see how different countries do it differently.
Yeah. Joke's on all of them. The country that's going to win is Starbase Texas.
what
The
do you think?
country?
The country?
Well, if it's a country,
The
it's not
one-
gonna be Starbase Texas. It's gonna be Starbase.
I will see.
Alrighty, well.
It'll be a country once they get to Mars.
I mean, we'll see. Let me see. There was a article. Oh, here we go. The next article we got for you today, kind of changing subjects here, is I'm going to botch this so badly, but UFI
Yep.
security cameras suddenly started showing live feeds to strangers. Long story short, they had a bug in their app that sent the wrong stream to the wrong person. So if somebody opened up their app to check their own cameras, they'd see somebody else's cameras. And knowing how databases work and how apps work, I know exactly what happened, and that is not okay.
Yeah, that's a terrifying experience. I mean, it's not even like the situation, you hear around the holidays where you have hackers and strangers pretending to be Santa, going into people's like Alexas and talking to little kids. And that's creepy and that's horrible. But yeah, the in terms of security, that's not too secure when you're able to look at other people's feeds. And at least from what I was able to tell from the article, it's not like they wired one end to the other. It just randomly happened. They weren't trying to pick a certain individual to get a certain other individual's feeds. It was also, I believe, only mostly happening in Australia. There were some people that reported in the United States, so it's not that widespread. But yeah, a little bit of a problem for UFI. They're a sister company of Anchor. If any of you know, they're a consumer electronics brand.
I
They
didn't
do
know
all
that.
kinds of yeah. So they do all kinds of lightning cables and well, any cables really. Power banks. I've got so many Anchor products around me right now. I
They had
couldn't
a
hold them
speaker
all
they
up.
made.
But yeah, not a good thing not good news for UFI.
No. That happened by accident. I can't imagine what someone trying to hack other people's cameras capable of if that happened by accident.
Yeah, it's definitely a big security red flag.
Well, my hypothesis of what happened with that is probably in the way their database architecture is constructed. My hypothesis, and granted this isn't confirmed or anything, but the way I'm thinking of it is they have a table in their database. They have a section of their database for all of the people who use the cameras. And then in the middle of on the other side they have all the cameras themselves. So they're technically two separate things. And then in the middle they have what's called an intermediate entity, basically that links the camera to the person. What I think happened is the ID of the person and the ID of the camera may have gotten flipped. So you have somebody with user ID of 1 connecting to the camera ID of, let's say, 30. Instead, now you have user ID 30 connecting to camera ID 1. So that's what I think may have been the issue.
Oof. That's bad.
Yeah, either way, it's not good. And the article also says that the reports are only coming in more and more. So
yeah,
hopefully they're able to patch this.
We'll see.
It's not a terribly rare thing. Remote cameras have all kinds of issues. I remember talking to someone who was checking in on what their remote camera was sending, and it was sending packets to, I forget what country, but like some country that it should by no means have been sending stuff back to, but it was.
Well, there's a big thing out there now where people are actually hacking into those and using those as part of a botnet to run denial of service attacks
DDoS,
against
Wow.
websites. So that's because
that's why people
And this was due to
Sorry.
no worries. This was due like maybe 5-10 years ago when there was that initial like IoT, everything needs the internet, like that really big boom that they just kind of threw security like out the window. And it just kind of happened that they just wanted to get to market as quickly as possible and really didn't think about the security implications of things. And that's why we're seeing all these older devices getting hacked. So
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that too. Like, you can basically do anything that's internet connected. They're figuring out how to take it and make it basically just flood something with requests to the point where they could just break people's servers because it can't process 20 million requests in a few seconds. It just can't. But
right.
I remember distinctly. Anytime you looked at like a Raspberry Pi guide or anything like that, it'd be like, change your username and password, please. We're begging you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And like it's always in like big bold letters at the beginning, immediately do this. So yeah, it's funny. um cool. Well, in other news, Microsoft Teams launched for friends and families with free all-day video conferencing. Basically they created a newer version of Microsoft Teams that works for friends and family as opposed to their business and like their business software. So cool to see.
Yeah, I think there's two important things though, from at least that I took from this. Um, Zoom took over the world last year. So I don't think anyone's gonna argue with me on that. Ryan, I'll give you a chance here. Do you want to or no?
Sure.
Okay.
I think Zoom is probably like the 8th most powerful country at this point.
Yeah. So Zoom's kind of taken over the world. Uh-oh. Am I back?
Yeah, you're here. You're fine.
All right. It froze for me for a second. Well, anyway,
Yeah, me
Zoom's
too. It's all
sort of
good.
taken over the world. They've become sort of the pinnacle of video conferencing right now, for schools, for sometimes for businesses. Microsoft Teams came in and kind of carved out that market, but they weren't really able to get that sort of home, personal use sort of case. Zoom has sort of still dominated that. Well, now you can have 24-hour video calls, at least in the pandemic, with up to 300 people. That's a lot. I can't imagine. At least I know for one great example, my fraternity. They use Zoom to conduct all of their chapter meetings, and they had to pay to have the whatever version because the free version only let them go so long. It was like 45 minutes, and chapters. I mean, Fitz, they run forever. Some of them. Now that you can do this up to 300 people for at least or that go for 24 hours, I can see them very easily canceling their subscription there and moving to Microsoft Teams. Even after pandemic, they're going to be keeping that one-to-one video calls for up to 24 hours. And I believe it's 60 minutes for 100 people. But even still, that beats out Zoom. So we'll see if Zoom decides to respond and up their minutes or rescind their sort of subscription service for the time being. But this is directly a slap in Zoom's face that, hey, we're Microsoft, we're here, and we're coming back.
Does Skype still exist then?
Skype exists, but I mean, people don't use it. They don't. Microsoft really, as far as I know, doesn't really push it.
I think they killed it. Like
Okay.
they didn't like bring it
Because
offline, but
And
we're
I
getting
think
into
and I think
we're getting
they
into
did
Google
try to
territory.
make it better, but they just didn't have the features that everyone wanted, and they kind of created this new sort of software in Teams, and it's been wildly successful. My company uses it. I think Fitz, your company uses it. It's that or Cisco, and at least in my personal opinion, I really, and I've used both. I really enjoy Teams. Probably more so than
It's all about
any other
Discord for
platform.
business.
yeah, because those two
Kind of.
things go together.
Okay, hold on. I genuinely believe Discord is probably better than Slack. It's better than, I think, probably Teams. I think it's probably better than a lot of things. I think Discord's really powerful. But regardless of that, Microsoft's is kind of, I think they need to step carefully. They're getting into Google territory of having products that do the same thing and renaming them over and over again till no one can tell what actually still is alive, what's dead for Google.
Good point.
Well,
Like what?
yeah, I mean,
Like
well, I mean,
Hangouts,
Teams and Skype.
meetings.
Yeah, you wouldn't experience this as much, Gryzlo, because you're on
Some-
iPhone.
Yeah, Hangouts, meetings.
The one thing that bothers me about Google,
Duo. Yeah.
Duo's still alive. Duo's actually a really good video calling service, but that's like the FaceTime replacement for them.
I'm hot take, maybe not a hot take. I think it's more of a Google problem than
It is.
like something that a company comes into. Like, I don't think this is really going to be something that affects Microsoft.
Yeah, I think it's
really
probably
something that's always been an issue with Google.
Yeah. I think it's a systematic problem with Google. Microsoft has done this like maybe twice. So it's not like a serious issue for them. Google does it. I could probably think of 4 or 5 examples. Google Music is gone. Now it's only YouTube Music. Google Hangouts, Google Messages, Google Chat.
They had their social media.
Yeah.
Was it Google Plus?
Google Plus. Oh gosh.
I remember when they were trying to push that. I thought that was the silliest thing. Because I don't remember what the popular platform was at the time, but it didn't matter what the popular platform was at the time. No one was using Google Plus.
At the time, it would have been like the peak of Facebook, I think.
Oh yeah, how can you compete with?
And Facebook's still huge.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's just that was also when Facebook was like new and like the cool hip thing to be on, as the kids say.
Hello, fellow kids.
Yes, the kids. You know, it's hip. It's happening.
It's 23 or what? 5 years removed from a kid.
5 years removed from kids, but you know, I won't get into my philosophy on this because that's regardless of the point.
Speaking of,
I mean, yes, we are adults, but to talk down to people that are 5 years younger than you when 5 years ago you're in the same category.
All I will say on the subject matter is I think there's a hard line difference between people born after a certain point in 2001, and I'm going to leave it there.
Oh no, I really don't. Oh yes, I think I might agree with you. I'll be honest.
We're just going to move on. I don't need to go into details.
Alrighty.
It's like I heard half what you said, but I don't enjoy being a Zoomer.
In other words, AT&T is supposedly spinning off and combining Warner Media with Discovery in a deal that would create a streaming giant. I'm not sure how I feel about this. There's a lot going on here because you got HBO Max and Discovery Plus coming out. I don't know. I know, Gryzlo, you wanted to talk a little bit on this one. You had some comments on this.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting trend, maybe we're seeing, or at least this is another example of what we saw last week with Verizon selling off AOL and Yahoo. They're trying to get out of this streaming business. They're not trying to be in the media business anymore. They want to be more in the telecommunications and other parts of their business. They're trying to basically reformat their business structure, and their HBO Max does not fit their description of what AT&T is going to be. And so they've partnered with Discovery, and they're going to be spinning us off with HBO Max and Discovery Plus. And when we were talking about this in the pre-show, I mean, HBO Max I think is a good partner for anyone. But I would assume it's only better for the smaller guy than the bigger guy, because we were talking before. I mean, I couldn't have named any of the Discovery Plus shows. We looked; it was TLC and Food Network and those type of shows, the lifestyle things. I can't imagine anyone seeing a new streaming service or company that has HBO Max with all of the other offerings of Discovery Plus and saying, that's it. Now that they have all the Discovery Plus shows, now I'm going to buy into this service. I think expanding your portfolio is good. And obviously this is a strategic move for AT&T to kind of offload something it really isn't not interested in. An important thing to know, though, is that the purchase or in the money being sent back to AT&T is largely going to be covering debt. And in fact, the company, this new company that's going to be formed when it is, because it has to go through regulatory review, is going to start with something like $50 million in debt day one. We'll see. We'll see what happens if they really, yeah. I mean, like I said, I don't think this is gonna encourage anyone that doesn't already have an HBO Max membership, who's on the fence about it before, to go, oh, I need it now, but I can watch Food Network and TLC. But I think it will definitely help Discovery, and it does offload the burden on from AT&T onto someone else.
Yeah. We got to see how it works out. I don't think HBO has like a headliner like show right now, do they?
HBO or I mean, I don't know how HBO Max works if they put all their current content like as it's being recorded on there. If they only put like previous seasons on there, I don't have a membership. I can't really speak to it. But at least one great example of I'd say what they're trying to go for is these exclusive releases, and prime example being the Justice League Snyder Cut that was released exclusively on HBO Max. What was it, last month or so? If they do more of that, and if they can rope in this Discovery Plus service and make it something that's worth it, then maybe.
I mean,
yeah, to my knowledge. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, you actually you could go. This is gonna be a new idea.
Okay, I was just gonna say, like, I don't think HBO even has like a headliner show to pull people in right now, regardless of anything else. I think their last one was what, Game of Thrones or something else.
Well, they're gonna have the spinoff.
They're making a spinoff
coming up soon. Yeah, I didn't watch
see.
Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I really didn't either. I watched like 3 episodes.
My favorite HBO show, and Fitz, probably, I'm assuming it's your favorite. I'm gonna take a wild guess. It could be yours if you have seen it, Ryan. Silicon Valley, highly recommend. If you haven't seen the show, go watch it. It's like 5 or 6 seasons. Phenomenal show. Thomas Middleditch. Who am I missing here? Big name actor, comedian.
Guy from
got canceled.
Nanjiani?
What was his name?
Kamal Nanjiani?
He's also in that, actually. Yeah, not who I was thinking of, but yes.
I don't know.
Anyway,
TJ
phenomenal
Miller?
Oh
show.
yeah,
go watch
TJ
it
Miller.
if you can.
Yeah,
TJ Miller. I thought he was phenomenal on that show. Funny as all get out. Go watch it.
Yeah.
Go get HBO Max.
Regardless, I don't think they have like that big pull-in right now.
Right.
I'm sure there's people who like TLC shows and all that who might do it. Don't really know.
I mean, the way I
don't
like,
know. I'm not.
I don't see those people paying for HBO Max. At least that clientele with these shows that are on TLC, and that's a very specific example of all of the other networks and TV channels that they're offering on Discovery Plus.
Yeah.
For me at least, I know that I liked the days when your streaming service was Netflix. That was it. Like, you had one streaming service that had almost everything, and that was it. Now you got every major network popping up with their little streaming service that's going to make them this oodle of cash and all this basically a cash grab. And I feel like we're going to then start to enter back into basically either merging these all together or bundling them into packages that people are going to buy.
Hopefully it doesn't end up packaged, it ends up piecemeal. Because that already a lot of people were saying is like, I don't want 90% of these channels. I don't need them. I have like 5, 6 that I watch, and then I don't watch anything else.
Yeah.
Regardless, I was just gonna say I'm kind of down on like TV and all that kind of stuff. I haven't streamed anything in quite a while.
We're all busy as heck.
Yeah.
No, it's not even that. It's just like nothing's like driving me to go watch it anymore.
Is that an age thing though, or like you just don't have time, so you don't?
I could just be old and jaded. I don't know. I don't think so, because there's a ton of adults who are like, "Oh, this is Lost. I'm super into this. This is Breaking Bad. I'm super into this. Game of Thrones with this cultural craze." And I don't know. I'm not seeing those right now. I'm not driven to watch any of them.
I can't think of any off the top of my head that are as big as like Game of Thrones or I guess what's the one with the aliens in Indiana? I can't remember the name of it. People are gonna probably
Stranger
berate
Things.
in the comments, but yeah, Stranger Things, and they're coming out with a new season, I believe, soon. But yeah, to your point, Fitz, it is really interesting to see how it kind of slowly went from all you have to have cable, you have to have it to get it wherever you want. So then, okay, well, you can buy into some of these packages. You still need cable. To okay, well, now we have some streaming services that are doing pretty well, and the networks see it and they go, okay, now we're going to start our streaming services. And that's dangerous for a few reasons. I guess maybe not a few reasons, but it's problematic because all these major networks now that have these streaming services, as soon as they've made the streaming services, pull all of their content from the other streaming services onto their own exclusive one. Phenomenal example, I believe it's Peacock. They took The Office from Netflix, and people were pissed that they couldn't watch Netflix, and they had to go to Peacock, and it was behind a paywall. And I believe, at least in the structure that they had initially set out, you couldn't get all of The Office through one of their subscription models. There were a few different ones, and it was differing, I guess, like access to the show.
I think it was a
But
paywall for certain seasons. You could watch
yeah,
some of them for free, but like certain seasons were paywalled.
yeah, I really don't like that, and I think exactly what you're saying. I agree with. I really do think we're gonna go from a society and a culture of everyone has cable and everyone's paying for all these channels to now everyone's gonna be paying for all of these subscription services, and they do have bundles. I mean, that's not uncommon right now. At least for me, I really wanted to watch my Cubs on Hulu. Apparently, they're not. The network, or at least the Cubs network now, Marquee network that they now have, is not playing nice with Hulu, so you can't watch it on Hulu. I believe they're having a partnership with Roku, but you have to have Roku. So it's like, okay, now I got to get a Roku or get this streaming service to access this content. It's slowly but surely going from all together in the network to I have a few streaming services to now everything is streaming service. Now I pay for everything. So you may as well just have everything at that point.
Yeah.
You might have a few ones you don't want, but if you have everything you need, I don't know. It's sort of disappointing, I think. But
I
I'm
will
not
say
surprised. I mean,
Netflix.
is anyone surprised though?
No. I will say people like Netflix did think ahead though, and they made their own studio to start producing content so that they wouldn't get cut off from these other places.
Oh yeah, and I mean a lot of these. I mean, Game of Thrones. It's an original HBO show.
Yeah.
So is Silicon Valley. Stranger Things. That's an exclusive Netflix show. And they have exclusive shows that you can only get on there. And I've watched a few like limited series on Netflix. A recent one I watched was Jupiter's Legacy, which it's based on like a comic or a book, and it really wasn't. It was okay. There are a lot of plot holes, but
Is it the sequel to that awful movie Jupiter Ascending?
no, as far as I know, no. I don't even know what that is. Actually, I think I know what you're talking about, and no,
It
it's
is.
not.
Oof.
It's not.
It's by the people. It's by the people who directed The Matrix, but it was.
No, it's not. It has nothing to do with that. Because I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know one of my buddies back home, last year helped his dad cut the cord on cable and did a lot of math and like mental acrobatics to figure out how to get his bill lower and still access all the content that he wanted. I hope that I don't have to do that because I enjoy having most of my stuff for what I need. I really, at least now, only use streaming services: Netflix, Hulu, Prime, Amazon Prime Video, I guess, which I don't really use often, and Disney Plus. And I really hope that I don't have to continue buying subscriptions to access the content that I want. It's just going to become as expensive as cable, and it's kind of like the phrase, some people die a hero and some people live long enough to see themselves become the villain. It's almost kind of like that scenario.
Right.
Yeah.
Speaking
I don't know.
of,
I know how to end this. No, hold on. I know how to end this. Go read a book. All right, we're good.
all righty, cool. In other news here, we have two cool device stories right here. Sharp's new flagship phone has a giant 1-inch camera sensor with Leica branding on it right up here. And the other article we got is Samsung
Like,
teasing their next gen of
ah,
flexible displays. So I'm not sure which one you
I
guys want
see.
to tackle first, but these are two very different articles here.
Well, let's go on the sharp one while I have this idea fresh in my mind. So this is, I guess, this is something that like comes and goes in seasons a lot with phones and phone cameras. I guess we're going into the season where basically phones get their cameras sponsored by like huge corporations who like famous for their cameras. So I know OnePlus's new phone is like sponsored by Hasselblad or whatever, something like that.
Hmm.
Supposedly they helped with like some of the color correction and like color algorithms and all that. If anyone doesn't know, I think Hasselblad was on. I can't remember which moon landing, but it's the camera from like that famous what is it, like little blue dot picture, I think is the name of it. Pale blue dot. Does that ring any bells?
I think
Nope.
I think I know what you're talking about. I want to
Yeah.
say that was Apollo 11.
It's a
I
really famous
think.
picture of Earth from the moon. I think it's
Oh, yes.
taken on a Hasselblad camera or something like that.
Oh,
So this is
okay.
just something that like comes and goes all the time in like the phone industry where like will be this year where like, oh, our audio's sponsored by like or not sponsored, but like there was a time when yeah. Well, no, it's most of the time it's just like they get some engineers on the phone to be like, yeah, we'll take a look at it, and then you can slap our branding on it. Because I know
Yeah.
there was a time when there was like Beats audio and things. There's just Dolby audio.
Oh my God, Beats
There's like
Audio.
this screen sponsored or whatever.
Oh
Yeah, Beats
wow.
audio isn't even good, but whatever.
I can't believe I forgot about that one.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah,
but yeah,
it's a pretty
it's just a
expensive.
trend that comes and goes. Is all I was saying.
Yeah. I believe this isn't the first 1-inch sensor phone. I think the first one was like 2014. I can't remember the company's name. It's somewhere.
Oh no! Is it that Windows Nokia phone with that
Oh
big
my
old
gosh.
camera on it?
I
The
think
Windows phone. Does everyone remember that thing?
or
Oh,
was it a Zune?
I love it.
Oh, it was the Panasonic CM1 in 2014.
Not the one I'm thinking of.
No.
I'm thinking of
It's
that
actually
big
linked
old
in the article. You
Nokia
can
phone.
probably pull it up
Ooh.
if you want, Fitz.
Here, let me pull it up.
But yeah, so this
Oh, yeah.
camera on the Sharp phone it's a 20 megapixel 1-inch sensor that is very competitive with some of the high end Sony cameras, compact cameras. So I mean, I think it's really cool that companies, and I'm not gonna say starting.
Hold on.
It's not like this is the first time this happened. Obviously, we just said 2014
What was
had
the
a
name?
1-inch phone. The Panasonic CM1. If you look in the article, it links directly to it. I at least in my
Wow.
opinion, yeah, it's probably huge.
Oh, wait. Hold on.
It's basically a camera that also is a phone.
Yeah. But this is actually, I think I jumped the gun a little bit here. It looks like this is not like the typical sensor you'd find. It looks like they either made their own sensor or got their own sensor from somewhere.
Really?
Sharp.
Yeah. It says it's similar to the Sony one, which is what you find in like, I think literally every phone. I think most high-end phones use the same Sony sensor. It says the lens is actually made by Leica, so that's interesting. But
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, it's
it
it's an f1.9 summicron lens, wider than most phone cameras, or most phone cameras, with a focal length of 19 millimeters. So it's pretty wide.
yeah.
I think it's really cool that more. I shouldn't say more again because there are plenty of companies that are doing this, but I think when you were talking earlier about sort of like the episodes or the crazes,
Yeah.
I think currently what we're seeing is
It's a fad.
two big crazes.
Really.
Foldable phones and
I like
how
foldable. It's
crazy
cool.
can we go with the cameras, the camera system, the bump, whatever you want to call it. People are
Ooh.
adding more cameras, sensors to their phones. They're adding crazier sensors to their phones,
Yeah.
wide angle, zoom style, 100 times zoom capable lenses. It's cool to see that
Yeah.
we are getting cameras on the phones that really, really, really do, and not just because we want to say they do, but because they actually are getting to the point where they can rival some of these standalone point and shoot cameras, and some, even the mirrorless cameras.
Definitely.
Qualify that with in very select situations, and I'll half-heartedly sign on to it, but
Yeah.
they can't touch low light and a bunch of other stuff that just plain cameras do better. But
I mean,
yeah,
it's all in
regardless,
software though.
yeah, color science. Oh yeah, no, the color science that these phones use are incredible. That's for sure.
Definitely.
And if it's only a software issue, it's only a matter of time, Ryan.
It's not a software issue; it's a hardware issue.
Well, if you can correct all kinds of things in software with like low light pictures and stuff, then yeah, it really is only
No, because you have to take guesses. When you're doing that stuff, you do still have to take guesses on like, this is about what this should look like if I correct for darkness. Whereas when you have the standalone, it's just a bigger sensor. It gets more light in, and you can get a better view of what's happening.
Yeah, but I mean, also this is just the refinement of the technology. It's at a
Yeah.
certain point right now, and I won't even say 10 years because I doubt it'll even take 10 years. Let's say 6 years. I bet it's gonna be right up there with
It I think it still is a hardware thing, because you do need to get this much light into this much space. And honestly, they're good enough already, I think. Like, I don't care that a like standalone camera is better. For 90% of the situations that you find yourself in, I don't think people are going to wish they had a standalone camera.
I mean, also, who goes out and buys standalone cameras really anymore? At least the typical
Photographers.
consumer doesn't.
No, photographers do.
If you're really into photography, you do.
Yeah.
But I mean, you and me, and especially when you're looking on a screen that's 5 inches big, or in any other case like an iPad, 11 inches, 13 inches, it's still, and no one's really zooming. You're just showing pictures and you're scrolling, you're moving on. And then also on top of that, when you post on social media, it decompresses the image and the quality goes a bit down. So it really doesn't matter for most
It
consumers at the end of
compresses,
the day.
not decompresses.
Thank you. Thank you.
Quick clarification.
But, it's been a long day. It's Monday.
I know. I'm sorry.
But yeah, it really doesn't matter much to the consumer or the standard consumer.
Oh yeah, no, to an average person. I'm talking about for professionals. Average person, I think it ceased mattering 2-3 years ago at least, maybe more.
I think more so like whenever a company comes out with a new product at the release and then they give all the details for it, it's more of like a shock and awe type reaction to the standard consumer versus someone who's really dialed into photography would look at it and go, okay, it's good, but it's still not even close, or doesn't hold a candle to what I've got, my pro setup. I mean, what's the company? Red? Is it Red Dot or Red?
Red.
Oh, forget about Red.
Yeah.
Jeez.
There's never gonna be an iPhone that comes near that in the next 20 years, if ever. But a lot of these other cameras that a standard consumer would buy, this is just as good.
Yeah.
And this is almost 3 years old.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I think it could be the case one day where the reverse almost happens, where you get like a Google branded like partnership with like a Sony mirrorless camera, where Google's helping them with the color science, because I don't know why, but Google's color science is the absolute best.
On the phones?
Yes.
Yeah, I gotta say, I mean, as much as I love my iPhone, I will admit when it's not as good as other things. And I gotta say, even like your first generation Pixel,
Yeah,
I believe
that
it's first
thing.
generation.
Ooh, that's what I had back then.
Yeah,
Ooh,
freshman year, your first generation Pixel
yeah,
of college. So was it 4 years ago? Almost 5 years ago at this point. That first
yeah.
generation Pixel phone, I was very shocked at the camera
That
quality, and so
thing.
was everyone else, not just me.
Oh yeah, I
People
Yeah,
were
was
writing
too.
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were plenty of people that were writing about it, and
it was
consumers were
crazy.
talking
Yeah,
about it. Yeah, I think that's a good point. But then it leads again to what I was saying earlier.
yeah,
I don't think it's gonna be.
or
It's an issue of hardware
yeah,
anymore. It's only optimizing the hardware with software now.
yeah, yeah. For a normal person, yes. If
Yes.
you're like, if you're not like a photographer, yes, absolutely.
Alrighty. Well, in the next article we have here, we have an article about EV startups. They lose over $40 billion in valuation after taking SPAC route to go public. The sliding valuations of Nikola, Fisker, Lordstown, Canoe, and Arrival underscore the risks surrounding the blank check boom. Basically, they thought they were worth a heck of a lot more. And they just go into all of these different articles. Uh, I just wanted to stop here for a second and point this out.
Ugh.
What?
Oh, they are releasing a. If that's not what. Oh no, that's exactly what I think it is.
Yeah, it's Canoe.
That's their new van. Or if it's not the new van, they are releasing a new van, like $34,000. I don't know what the specs are on it.
Reminds me of one of those like 1990 what were they like they weren't like
No, it's like 1970 VW bus.
If
I
you
mean
can pull up the comparison, Fitz, and
of
do a
what?
side by side,
Of a
the no. So from the original Vacation movie, that looks like an electrified version of that.
Oh, let's see.
Or
Is
or
it a
the new
VW
Vacation movie.
bus?
It's
What
the
are you
new
guys
Vacation
talking
movie.
about?
It's not the original, unfortunately. The original one was an old, long, wood paneled car. But if you look up Vacation, the movie,
movie.
Vacation movie car, but sure.
I don't know what to describe like this.
Yes.
Uh,
Ugh.
that's even worse than a VW bus.
Like
That was my first reaction to what I thought it could be close to. 2015 Tartan Prancer. That's what it looks
something
like.
like that. Yeah, Tartan Prancer from
Yeah.
Vacation.
But yeah, VW Bus is also a good comparison. I would see, yeah, it's definitely a modern day like VW style
Yeah,
bus.
look
They
at
are
that.
going to be releasing those electrified, aren't they?
I believe people have just been doing that by themselves, just making those
Oh,
electric.
I thought the company was releasing them like under the Volkswagen like ID new branding for their electric vehicles.
I don't know. I don't know. Either way, definitely interesting to see the value of these just completely go to behind. Um, I mean, I knew that they were overvaluating these things from the beginning because everybody was trying to cash grab for what Tesla was doing, but I didn't
Yeah,
expect it to be $40 billion.
The only
I'm
company
not
I
terribly
recognize on that
surprised.
list is Fisker,
The only one I
and it's only because
recognize is Nikola, because
oh,
memes.
both of those I suppose. Ryan,
I
you're trying to say
recognize
something?
these. I'm not surprised at all. I think electric vehicles got largely overblown very quickly.
Oh
Uh,
yeah,
I think for the most part, like the amount of work that goes into making a battery for one of these things is insane at the moment.
oh yeah.
So until we get like a few more like really good jumps in battery technology, I mean, it's a lot to get a good enough battery for it to work. Like that's why Tesla has whole like factories and stuff that manufacture these batteries. It's because it's that crazy.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
However,
Um,
speaking of
what
Tesla,
oof,
manufactures batteries?
oof. I was gonna say the 2024 Volkswagen, or at least maybe 2023, because it'll be 2024 model, will be coming out with their VW ID Buzz electric van.
interesting.
So
Gross.
yes,
We'll see.
they will be coming out with an electrified version of their van.
Well,
Ugh.
when You're driving electric cars, autopilot comes after that. And this story that Gryzlo you sent in, I think this is hilarious. Man arrested for riding in the backseat of his driverless Tesla, got out of jail, bought a new Tesla, and did it again. And basically, long story short, he basically gave the cops the finger and said, I have unlimited money, I can do what I want. It says, we'll keep buying Teslas as his car is impounded. So I'm not
Yeah,
sure how I feel on this. I just think that is funny. I mean, I
I
don't encourage it in any way whatsoever, but
yeah,
it's funny for the meme.
I think it was a guy. So at least a little background. The person, I believe he made a
Graham
lot of money
Sharma,
off of like Bitcoin. Yeah, he lives in San
Bitcoin
Francisco.
billionaire.
What's that?
Bitcoin billionaire.
Yeah. He is a young guy, and he's very bold and brash. And
Oh, wait a minute.
I watched like a TMZ style like interaction video with him online, and they came up to him while he was in the car. I don't know if he was parked on the street or waiting at like a stoplight or whatever, and he was sitting in the back seat, and they were asking questions about it because he had just gotten his other Tesla like impounded, like the first one, and he was explaining how, oh well, I can just go up and in 3 seconds I can take control of the vehicle from sitting in the passenger rear seat, so not even behind the driver. I guess it's probably better to get to the driver's seat if you're in the rear passenger side. Nonetheless, yeah, this guy's really full of himself. This is I think the prime example in 2021 of like FU money. Like I can afford to basically get all of my Teslas, and he mentioned in the video, yeah, Tesla's only $60,000 vehicle. Do you know how many Teslas I could buy with the amount of money that I have? I mean, it was a sort of pompous, just like jerk, tech or Bitcoin made billionaire. This guy, and yeah, in the interview he was explaining to the guy just how rich he was, how he would go. He's gonna do this basically until they stop doing this, until they stop arresting him and stop taking his vehicles. He's not going to stop. He's not going to back down. And he was a big Tesla fan. Nonetheless, this is incredibly dangerous. I don't think I have to say it, but please don't do this. There's a reason why we don't have fully self-driving vehicles everywhere in the States, and there's reasons why people don't do this and why he's getting the reaction he is. So if you have a Tesla, if you have a car that can do any sort of like self-driving, don't sit in the back. It's not your personal chauffeur, at least in 2021. It's not safe enough. It's not the law yet, and you're gonna freak a lot of people out. So please don't do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Jeez. What is he even famous for?
He's not famous for anything. He just got rich off Bitcoin, or it was Bitcoin or Dogecoin.
Is it Bitcoin?
I believe it was
Hold
Bitcoin.
on.
Also, I might be wrong. I don't think it was 60,000 because that would be the cost of a Tesla Model S. I believe he was driving Tesla Model 3, which would be $30,000.
His money,
which you can get twice the amount of money it would cost you to buy a Model S. Either way, I again, yeah, in a quote here, I have unlimited money to blow on Teslas. If you take away my Tesla, I'll get none. It's like stupid. The guy, why are there people like this? Why are people like this?
Who knows?
I'm
But
trying to figure out how he made his money.
while you look for that, Ryan, we're gonna move on to the next story here. Basically, Cloudflare, a company that runs content delivery and all sorts of stuff across the internet, wants to end the "Are you a robot?" CAPTCHA madness, as they put it, and launched a new security key-based replacement. Long story short, what they're trying to do is replacing the voluntary training of other companies' AIs to basically touching something physically to let you know that you're there. And in this case, a YubiKey or any form of physical security appliance where they can actually cryptographically prove that you're touching the thing. So I think it's interesting. Definitely something to see.
I would love to see the day where I don't have to look at 9 grainy pictures of a sidewalk and have to pick out which of them have a small corner of a fire hydrant in them just to be able to buy a phone case. Like, just I wish that I want to see the day where I can use a physical key, and in a matter of seconds I can be authenticated and go on with my online activities. Ryan.
I'm trying to figure out. No one knows why this dude's rich. It might just be family money.
Who knows?
No, it's crypto. It's crypto.
It wouldn't surprise me. I don't. How do you know?
Because I've watched an interview with him.
I don't know. I can't find anywhere.
Okay.
Why do people like this? Why do people care about people like this? That's what I want to know. Who followed him on Instagram? If you follow him on Instagram, you should be ashamed.
It's not that he's getting a following. And if anything, he's getting a following from this media. And I guess it's a sort of like a Trump style media. Not no media is bad media. He's just getting media attention, and he probably loves all of it. But the physical key stuff. Yeah, like I said,
my only question is it sending my fingerprint to a cloud? That's all I care about. If it is, no.
Believe it or not, no, they aren't. I actually have a UB key right here. All it is.
Well, then I'm good.
It is literally you just touch the thing, like it's basically a button, and that's it, which is super cool. So
all I care about is how good is the encryption, and is it trying to store my fingerprint somewhere? Because as long as it's not, and the encryption's rock solid and no one's gonna hack it, awesome. Get rid of those stupid things.
Yep. In other news, we have 2 NFT articles here for you today. We have this one.
I gotta pay the bills.
Yep, there we go.
Yes, we do, baby.
The Charlie Bit My Finger video is being auctioned off as an NFT and then deleted off of YouTube. So it is being auctioned off and then deleted off of YouTube. And then I really didn't look at this one. They just sold a Michelangelo NFT for $100,000, and they're minting more masterpieces. I didn't read this one. I did read this one, and this is kind of funny. But basically, long story short, they're going to auction it off on May 22nd, and then the original video will be deleted from YouTube. That's it. Like, why? But we're in the era of NFTs, so anything's possible, I guess.
It just makes me sad because that was one of the first viral videos ever. And I think it's cool that they're having this sold as an NFT. This is not the first collectible or video. We covered one last week, I think, or 2 weeks ago. An NFT of another YouTube video, a viral YouTube video. In that article, it mentions some of the other ones that have sold as NFTs. But as far as I know, this is the first one where they are saying they are only going to have this available as an NFT, and the owner of the NFT will be the sole owner of that video. It's sort of like at this point, even, 17, 18, or maybe 15, rather, 14 years later, it's sort of become like an internet icon. Like the Charlie Bit Me video was profoundly viral. So to see that kind of go and sort of be like an exclusive, it does make me a little sad. It also sort of makes me wonder if this is going to become the norm, where if these hugely viral videos that are being built and sold as NFTs or with NFTs are going to then be deleted off the platform. What does that do to the platform? I mean, right now you've got all kinds of billion plus view videos that could easily be sold as NFTs. And I'm curious if YouTube would want that, and would want their like original content or like their most performing content to just be stripped from them.
Who knows?
I mean, probably doesn't make that much money anymore. Regardless of that, someone will re-upload it in 2 days as soon as it's deleted. I mean,
right?
Yeah, and they mentioned that too, where it's uploaded already 100 times or 1,000 times or whatever the number is. I just think, like I said, it's just sad that the original viral video is going to be gone. And that's in a matter of 5 days from now. 5 days from the recording of this video, it's going to be gone. So at the end of the week well, it's Saturday.
That's assuming the auction ends that day.
Yeah.
That's true. But still.
It says begins on May 22nd. But
begins? I thought it said ends. Okay.
The auction will kick off on the video's 14th anniversary. So 14
years. Yeah. So I wasn't that far off. Yeah, that's wild. And I guess on the other front, the Michelangelo stuff. Again, I don't think this is any sort of wild article. I just think it's interesting that they're selling these highly price, well, not even highly, these priceless art pieces of NFTs. I'm curious if the same piece that wasn't an NFT would sell for that, and I'm sure it would. It would probably sell for millions more.
It's
at least an order of magnitude more.
Go ahead.
Here's my thing with the art pieces. I don't know what they're selling exactly, like what the picture is.
I was actually going to say that. So it is the picture. It says, where was it? I just found it. Donnie Tondo. It says, Donnie Tondo is the name of the painting, but it's not the actual painting that you're buying. You are buying as they put it, a digital facsimile of a famous painting as part of a partnership with a company called Sinello that patented this. And basically what they're doing is they're using this revenue to support the museum through COVID. So because they weren't able to get all the visitors, they weren't able to get the revenue, they needed to find a way to make money. And this museum's basically creating these NFTs of this Michelangelo to get revenue, basically.
Yeah. You mean facsimile?
I can't talk.
I mean,
sorry, that was like facsimile? What? No,
it's basically like a high-res scan of it, right?
Right.
Here's the thing, like, if it's just an HD picture of it, man, who's buying that? If it's an 8K picture, okay, but if I'm gonna pay like 10 million, I want like a 3D scan of the painting with like every perfect color and detail. I want to be able to hand this to Nicolas Cage and have him go and steal it later on and replace it with something else. I want it to be that detailed.
You know, I wish I had the video on hand, but at least as far back as I can remember, let's say in the last few months, I do remember watching a video where there's a process that you can take very, very, very high res or get very high res renditions of very famous paintings.
Well,
and the process
hologram.
is crazy.
Yeah, it's a hologram. Making a hologram of them.
No. Like what they do is they go in with this huge ass camera and they zoom in on the picture, and they just take hundreds upon thousands of little pictures, and they stitch them together at the end.
Yeah.
And what you come out with is this incredible. I mean, you can see, Ryan, when you talk about like high detail.
Yeah,
HD,
that's what I want.
You can see the brush strokes on this.
Yeah, that's what I want if I'm going to pay like $10 million for the digital version of this. I want the highest quality possible. I don't want...
I mean, I'd never pay $10 million for it in the first place, but...
Well, I mean, this one sold for $170,000. Yeah, I'm curious to see what or to know what kind of level of detail that really went into that. If it was one of those type of things where they had a camera go in and really get a good... hundreds of thousands of pictures of it. This piece that was on a wall in like some sort of case, like what looks to be like a big
I don't know if they can
concrete
take
structure. And what I was talking about, this sort of process, they laid the piece out flat on a table, on a big table, and had the rig over it.
And I don't know what the process is for all that, because like these old paintings are like beyond like fragile. Like if you go to, I think it's, what's that French museum?
The Louvre.
The Louvre? Yeah.
Yes.
The Louvre. If you go there, like you can't You're not allowed to have any flash on or anything like that because like the paintings are that delicate that just that repeated exposure is going to damage them over time.
Yeah. Oh, like the painting that was, at least in the video that I saw, was a good example of that. A very aged painting, one
Yeah.
that could, if improperly handled, could really have been damaged. But they took really good care of it.
Yeah.
And the end result was astounding.
Yeah.
Astounding.
That's what I want though. That was the point of this. I want that if I'm going to pay a few million.
To that end, Ryan, would you pay $170,000 or more for an 8K res of
No.
a Michelangelo?
For an 8K? No. For like what you're talking about, I might if I had a lot more money than I currently have.
I just think it's, especially if
I had
NFT
2 to 3 orders of magnitude more money than I have right now, maybe.
I think especially if the NFT is just a really high res scan of the thing.
Yeah.
I don't understand digital art. I will never understand digital art. And when I say digital art, I mean like you have a frame in the background or a big screen and you project art on it. My TV has a feature where you can project like nice paintings on it, and it's a nice 4K, OLED HDR display TV.
We
It
get
looks
it.
phenomenal.
You have a cool
but
TV.
but I'm not trying to hammer home that point. The point I'm trying to make is that wouldn't make me want to set up more screens around my home or apartment, and for that point, and increase my collection of digital art. I would rather have a physical piece.
Oh yeah. But you're also thinking about this from the amount of money you currently have, and
No.
not from the point of view of a billionaire.
No.
Where you can afford to have an 8K screen worked into the wall perfectly, seamlessly looking like there's art on the wall.
Ryan, if I had that Tesla guy money, I still wouldn't do it.
I might.
I still wouldn't do it.
I
And
think
maybe
it's
me
pretty
being
cool.
naive. Maybe you're right, but I still wouldn't do it. I love talking about NFTs. I think they're fascinating. I think this whole buzz around it is fascinating. You're still not going to catch me buying NFT Pokemon cards or art.
Well, I wouldn't do it for that though. We're not thinking the same way about this. I hate modern art for the most part. There's a lot of stuff I just don't like.
Sure.
But like if you're going to give me one of these incredible scans of like a Renaissance painting, I love that because that is like it's astounding art to me.
Yeah, you will never have the chance to own that painting in the way that you will with an NFT. It's going to be, the physical object is going to be hung in a museum until the end of time. Like,
but they auction off pieces like all the time. They auction off famous art pieces all the time.
Yes.
And if you have the money to I mean, Ryan, if we're talking about a cool few $1 million or whatever.
Yeah.
If we're talking about FU money like that Tesla guy has, he can afford a Michelangelo.
Yeah, maybe he can.
And actually a Michelangelo. He could buy, I mean, when you say he could throw away Teslas like nothing, what does it take? Less than 5 to afford this NFT of this Michelangelo?
Yeah.
You just get the original.
Here's the thing though. Yeah, a real Michelangelo is a lot harder to come by. That's even more money than I'm even conceiving of ever having. Like I'm talking from like normal rich perspective, I think.
So you're talking about like ball on a budget rich.
Yeah.
That's one way.
I think I'm talking from like the perspective of someone who's like normal rich, not like someone who's like stupid amounts of rich.
So like I don't know.
Like someone whose wealth is still measured in billions
versus Bill Gates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm speaking from the point of view of like someone who's got like $40 million is objectively rich, but isn't just like I can just throw money away rich.
No, they can't.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a personal thing, I suppose. At the end of the day, I'm still not buying.
Yeah.
I'm still not buying digital renditions of art.
Yeah.
Also, I think there's a certain aspect to the art NFTs specifically on just appreciating art. I mean, yeah, you can have a really high res picture of a Michelangelo, but you're not going to be able to appreciate it in the same way that you can if you actually had the Michelangelo, the art
Yes.
piece. I think, I mean, this is a very genius way for this museum to recoup money in a time where you can't go out to museums. I think it's a very smart idea. But as far as this catching on and really taking off, or really becoming popular, I don't know. People have been
I
buying
mean,
physical art for decades, and I'm not
yeah.
talking just a $20 piece, but hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars. I don't think that's going to change.
Yeah. Listen, if my last name is Bezos, I'll go and buy the original, but
Balling on a budget. There we go.
Balling on a budget, Rich.
But anyway, next article we got for you, right before our last one for you tonight, is the mRNA tech that was used against COVID could finally help us beat malaria. And long story short, this article went into pretty good detail, citing some papers and things like that, basically on how the mRNA technology, which basically makes um, antibodies, um, can be used for other things. Like basically, if you could apply them to kill cancer cells or combat against malaria or things like that. So, really interesting article to read. And it's cool because this is a new technology of vaccine, and we haven't realized all the full benefits of it yet. I'm excited to see what comes up. So
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool that we're already starting to see or are starting to think about and apply this new vaccine technology, the spike protein creating mRNA vaccines in different use cases. Malaria is a phenomenal use case for this. I mean, it's a prime example of something that really devastates communities worldwide, and specifically in Africa. Um, so this would be phenomenal for the world if you can get something out like that, and especially if you can broaden that scope of this type of vaccine to combat other more serious viruses and other ordeals, other stuff.
Yeah, what you said about even potentially having a use in cancer treatment, that I find really, really interesting because it's been a minute since I've taken biology, but I'm remembering correctly, a lot of cancers are caused by rapid cell growth. And when a cell's DNA gets damaged, it's refusing to basically commit suicide, apoptosis. So I could
big words.
conceive, apoptosis. It's a fun word.
No kidding.
Yeah. I could conceive of like, oh yeah, we're like using this like mRNA protein thing to like get it into cells and force them to like produce whatever like things are supposed to check the DNA and RNA of the cell and all this other stuff, and like check if these inhibitors are working or not, and if they're not, force it to like do its job and commit apoptosis.
Right, like it's all very, very theoretical
I'm
right now,
sure it's
obviously,
much
but
more complicated than that. I'm not a biologist.
right, none of us are
I can,
qualified in any
I
way.
can, yeah, but I can wrap my mind around how that's theoretically possible.
Right. Right, and it's definitely going to be cool to see, and I really hope that we're able to use this technology in the future too. So,
Yeah.
great. Well, the last article we have for you today is
Ah,
an oldie but a goodie. And you may be wondering, okay, what's the title of this have to do with anything that we've talked about so far? And the closer article for today was all the way back in the 2nd of April of 2020. Um, but it's still applicable to this day. And this article, Ryan, you're going to love this one. Boeing 787s must be turned off and on every 51 days to prevent misleading data being shown to pilots. So I find this hilarious. Long story short, the article just says, hey, we have to turn off the plane and turn it back on again every 51 days so we don't get raw, like, we don't see wrong things on the flight controls. So, like, from
Boeing.
The
from
power of the power button.
you said it well
The
right
on-off
there,
switch.
Gryzlo. There you go. But basically, this article goes into a little bit more detail about some of the other software failures that Boeing has had. But Ryan, one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is
Ah,
what you think the issue may be, because both you and I took some classes that have these issues come up. And if it sounds to me, this sounds to me like it would be them refusing to free memory within the
it's
plane.
just a giant memory leak.
Yes.
I don't
Oh,
know. I don't know what level of what do you call it, abstraction they're working with. I don't know if it's like in a programming language that this is happening, or if this is like
It
on the
says
hardware level.
it says both actually. It's for
Ooh,
their inner flight communications. So basically the
yeah.
network within the plane.
So they could have. So I mean, there's a couple things that could be wrong. Obviously, it could be an issue of memory where they have a memory leak somewhere that's destroying a bunch
And
of stuff.
and just to kind of explain what a memory leak is, whenever you write a program, whenever you want to do some operation, you need to use memory. You need to store those numbers somewhere. So you could write a program that says store a number here, store a number here, and then add those two numbers together and store it here. But if you don't say at the end of the program, okay, I don't need that anymore, you could store something else there, um, you have memory that is not being allowed to go back to the system. So it can't be recycled again, and you only have so much memory. So once your memory is full, weird, unpredictable things start happening. So,
Yeah. And then on the hardware side, I don't know like what level of chips they've designed themselves and all this other stuff too, because I don't work for Boeing yet. Call me Boeing. No, but I don't know if I don't know if they're using just like ASIC chips to run a bunch of stuff and just like duty built chips for like one specific purpose. In which case they can have what's I mean basically a state error where like your chip's supposed to say, "Oh hey, this thing happened, therefore I should operate with this type of behavior," and it could be doing that inaccurately. Or it could be a level above that, which I don't know yet, which is basically like CPU design almost, where something's going wrong on that level of things. I don't know what their hardware looks like.
right. And who knows? I
I
guarantee
do know
you.
I do know if I think it's Airbus.
Mhm.
Is that their competitor? I'm
Yes.
laughing so hard right now. Right to the bank.
But hey, I think it's funny because, as you said, Gryzlo, the power of the power button right there. You can turn it off, turn it back on again. Everything will work fine. I'm glad they solved that. I'm glad that they figured out that you need to turn a plane on. Uh, but
off again and
Mal-
on again.
yeah, there you go. Yeah. Um,
Malaysia is just the new Bermuda Triangle.
oof. But
This is
anyway,
this is
yeah.
such a 2020 article.
Oh, it's such a 2020 article. But
Like,
I
what was it? Is that the 787, right?
yes, it was the 787.
And was that the one that had all the issues, or is that a different one?
That was the 78, I believe the 787 Max.
Well,
Max?
let's take a look.
I
Because I'm curious if that also spilled into the Max. Because I mean, for
Almost
what, like a year
certainly.
and a half, that line of plane was having all kinds of issues for half that time at least. Boeing
The 737 Max.
oh, it
grounded
was a
all of them.
737 Max. But
Okay. Okay.
you
Okay.
really think airline technology changes a lot between planes?
I'd hope they wouldn't have to turn their machines off and on again. And by machines, I mean planes that carry people.
To be fair, updates for these planes are, I may be wrong here, but I know in a lot of cases, some of these older planes, the software updates are actually still delivered on floppy disks.
Oh God! And
So
I'm flying on these things.
yes, let me check.
Oh.
Airplane.
For the younger people in our audience, let's show them a picture of a floppy disk. Because I know this is something I said last week. There's a bunch of people running around who don't know what a floppy disk is, and that hurts my soul.
This is a 747, and this was actually an article I read when it came out back in August. Basically, 747s still get critical updates via floppy disks, and this was a video through DevCon actually. And they actually went over all of the internal like workings, how the plane network worked, and all of that stuff. And you can see, let me see, where is it? There was something here.
That
Basically,
tech looked ancient.
yeah. Well, this plane was, the plane is old. Come on, where is it? There it is. Yep,
Oy.
right here. You can see that insert disk.
Awesome.
So
Diskette
I mean-
stowage. Oh geez.
I mean, I'll be honest. That's not like
It was-
a huge negative thing.
it was
just means it's a
introduced in
little old.
1988. So
Yeah.
I mean,
It's not as if, listen, it's not as if floppy disks are like these hugely unreliable security risks or anything like that. Like,
They're probably one of
They're
the
ju-
safest.
no, they're just normal. They're a disk. It's, magnetic bits stored on a disk that have been set a certain way. So you just put it in and it reads the bits. It's just looking at it, it dates it a little bit.
oh yeah, and let me look up a picture of a floppy disk for people who don't know.
Yes.
Or actually,
show,
it's the same
show, the,
icon.
ch- show the children.
Okay, now you can say children.
Yeah, this is
let's
now
not
you can
go
talk
back
now.
into this.
this is what a floppy disk looks like. So
I will
These
define
predated
you my
CDs for anyone who
philosophy on
knows
this
what
after
CDs
the
are.
show.
I'm gonna pretend I heard what
Uh,
both of you said.
I said I'll tell you my philosophy on this after the show.
Alrighty, sounds good.
And I said that these predated CDs, if anyone knows what CDs are, or DVDs.
But yeah,
No. Hold on. Discs were still in use like 4 years ago on like Xboxes and stuff. Kids still know what they are.
I still remember whenever you'd put one of these into the computer and the amount of noise it would make. It was always so much fun. Yeah, they're like,
They make the computer go
yeah.
burr.
Yeah, pretty much. And
Computers are too quiet
funny
now.
story too. The reason they're called floppy disks is because you had your 3.5 and then 5 point something inch, I believe, form factor floppy disks, and these two were actually floppy. So like you put it in your hand and you could wave it around, like it wasn't a solid piece of plastic like the standard 3.5 inch ones. So
I'm not old enough to remember the floppy disks.
I have been using computers for a very long time. And the
But
computers
I
I
do
did
remember-
use when I was younger were very, very outdated. And that is why I feel like I'm a relatively decent programmer. But anyway, so
You kids and your 16 gigabytes of memory.
what about 16 megs?
I remember looking at going through my parents' stuff, like their old cameras, and like the cameras that are or my childhood, small 4 or 5-year-old pictures were taken on. The cards were like 32 megabytes, or like 64 megabytes, and I looked at it and I'm like, and this is later on. This is probably when I was 15, 16, so 6-7 years ago. But even still, I mean, it's just funny to think that 64 gigs, or not gigs, megabytes of memory could get you so much.
Right.
And that's what it was.
Right.
Oh, it's even funnier to think about that the first, or not the first, what is it? The iPod Classic or the iPod Video had like 32 gigabytes of memory, or of storage rather.
Mm-hmm.
And then iPhones recently had like 8 to 16.
Yeah, it's funny to look back and see how the storage sizes on on SD cards and
Yeah.
phones has just
I'm pretty sure it was
dramatically
storage in
increased.
those, in all fairness.
Right.
The iPad just came out, or Apple just came out with the the new iPad Pros, and I believe they just introduced 2 terabytes on an iPad.
Jeez.
Yeah,
That's been I think that came in a phone like literally 5 years ago.
even still, just that. How, like, the fact that something that I can hold in my hand that's just this big could be,
Oh no, I'm just
1
mocking
terabyte.
Apple.
2,
It's crazy.
It's crazy. It's insane. I think this is 256, and this was the top of the line 3 years ago, or whatever it was, 4 years ago.
Definitely.
Technology moves. Technology moves. It's not stagnant.
That is for sure. And we're going to leave on that statement right there.
And we're gonna move.
And we're going to move off of the air.
I'm gonna move to get dinner.
Yeah, honestly, I am starving. But anyway, thank you so much, Matt and Ryan, for being here today. Really appreciate you guys contributing as always. It is always so much fun to do this. We're going to be back soon with another episode of Tech Talk Nation, so tune in next time for more great tech news. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and hope you have a wonderful week.
Thank you for listening to Tech Talk Nation. Tune in next week for more discussion on the latest in tech.